Good afternoon, good afternoon. It is the 16th day of November of 2017. Guess what? It's my only brother's birthday, Anthony Newton St. Jean. He turns some age. I'm not going to tell his age, right? It's probably not a good idea.
No.
I said, no, I'm Dr. Peter KB St. Jean. You're here tuned into the Shy Peace Show live here at CAN TV. Remember, it's a live show. You can call us at 312-738-1060. We are also live on Facebook. I know Laurie wanted to see this and some others wanted to see the Shy Peace Show. We also want to remind you, as a Peaceful World Movement, this is the Peaceful World Movement show. We are located at 11451 South Michigan Avenue in Roseland. You can see us at www.shypeace.net, 716-603-0992. You can send me an email at peter@peacefulworldmovement.org. I have the distinct pleasure of introducing you to someone that I have met not very long ago. But the circumstances under which we met allowed me to realize that this is a lady that I have to speak to very soon, to talk to you and to have her speak to us about how she and her organization are contributing to a more peaceful Chicago. So I want to welcome you to Reverend Calloway, and she is, she is simply a reverend. She'll introduce herself, right? There are all the accolades that she can have. But she will introduce herself to tell you how she and her organization are contributing to a more peaceful Chicago. Thank you so much, Reverend, for accepting my invitation to be here.
Thank you for inviting me.
Well, are you from Chicago, by the way?
Yes, I am. Born and raised right
Born
here.
and raised.
This is my home. This is
You
my
look like
hood.
someone from Skokie or something.
Oh, really?
Just kidding. What does someone from Skokie look like? Huh?
I don't know.
Like someone said, are you from the South Side of Chicago? What does a South Side person look like? Well, so tell us, where in Chicago were you raised?
I was raised on 37th and Cottage Grove, actually, and then we moved out to the Roseland area, right on the fringe of Roseland, on 100, well, it was really 98th and King Drive. And that's where I went to school, high school at Harlan, and then to National Lewis College, and now university, and then to Chicago State.
2 master's degrees.
Yes, my second is from Trinity Divinity School, Evangelical Divinity School.
An educator and a woman of God.
Praise God, yes.
So tell us a bit about your organization, Thread, and what you guys do.
We're actually TREAD, the
TREAD.
Rock Enterprises and Development Corporation, and better known as TREAD on the South Side. Our slogan is Help for the Homeless and Hope for the Helpless. We originally were part of the Roseland Christian Ministries interim housing program. I directed that program, and it was closed. When it was closed, we realized there was still a need to help the homeless. So myself and some of the people that were helping me at that interim housing facility decided to form a board, and then we went looking for another place to set up another interim housing program. But we ran into so many barriers. During that time, I went to see the pastor of Sheldon Heights Church of Christ, and he informed me that it would probably be best if we set up more of a history with the community. And so we got the location that we're at now, which is 11320 South Halsted, and we opened up our doors. I put very simple signs up that said, help for the homeless and hope for the helpless. I was knocked back by the number of people that came through the door from this greater Roseland community, and the majority of them were re-entering citizens. Men who had come out of prison, had been walking those streets for the longest, could not find homes, could not find anything peaceful about the community, one barrier after another. So I felt that God was leading us to work primarily with re-entering citizens, and that's what we do.
Help for the homeless, home for the help.
For the helpless.
Help for the homeless, hope for the helpless.
Yes.
Wow, this is a brilliant slogan. Who created that?
God.
God. Well, I know God created everything. But
Yes.
who said it?
He brought it to me.
Oh, he brought it to you.
And
So
I put it in the
you were the
window.
mouthpiece of it. Right?
Yes, that's all I was.
You give him the credit. You were the mouthpiece. You got this. How did you get inspired to come up with that slogan?
How? You know, when I'm riding around and I'm just thinking about things come to me. And I don't take credit for it. I think that's how God gives me things.
Okay.
For instance, just the other day, I was getting a little discouraged. This is a very thankless job, and it can be very trying. You do a lot for people because I work one-on-one with everybody. And at times we get the rejected of the rejected. And so we're really starting at baseline everything. No IDs, no place to live, no clothing. We supply as much of that as we can. So we dress them from the underwear to the hat. And I was getting a little discouraged. And I was talking to the Lord, and I said, I guess I have to have the patience of Job.
Wow.
And what I heard was, no, you need the faith of Job. There's a difference.
Belief in a thing that none yet seen.
Exactly.
That is the patient. You have to, it's coming. It's on the way. Get yourself out of the way, and if you
And
believe, it'll
that's
happen.
it. See, look at you preaching to okay.
A little bit. I'm a Christian professor at a Christian university. I got to do a little
Yeah.
something, right?
Amen.
Right. Well, let me remind you, ladies and gentlemen, you're watching the Shy Peace Show. I am Dr. Peter KB St. Jean, brought to you by the Peaceful World Movement, located at 11451 South Michigan Avenue on the south side of Chicago. This is a live call-in show. Don't be shy, but all of you don't call at the same time. Don't jam up our phones, but try to jam them up. Call us at 312-738-1060. Reverend Calloway and I would love to hear from you, love to have a conversation, a question, or comment from you. So please call us at 312-738-1060. By the way, is this your first time in this beautiful building?
In this one, yes.
Isn't it gorgeous?
It is. It
Yeah,
is.
yeah,
I
yeah.
drove around the corner and around the corner just
Yes,
to look at
Can
it.
TV needs all the support that it can have. So you were talking about people really being maybe at the lowest in their lives, or really having circumstances where the needs are so many.
Yes.
And they probably have lost hope in most things that they went prior. So how do you place yourself to address people, to meet the needs of people who seem to have lost hope in almost everything prior?
You know, the first part of all of it is to show them some respect. One of the things that has torn them down and brought them to a base level is the lack of respect, the lack of love, the lack of an acknowledgement that they are people. Most people will see a homeless person, or they will find out that the person has been incarcerated, and the first thing that comes to mind is their imperfection. You did something wrong. You don't have this, you don't have that. I have always looked at people the way I believe God looks at them. You are a creature of God. You are made in His image. So I first look for the perfection, and that is Him. And once I look at that perfection, everything else, this just needs to be fixed. But you are perfect. You are. We just need to get some of these flaws and things out of the way. And oftentimes, most times, the flaw is not in the person. If a person is trying to get an ID so that they can get a job, and in order to get that ID, you have to have ID, that's already an oxymoron. And I run into that all the time with returning citizens. They have their release papers. The DMV will not accept that. Social Security doesn't accept it, although their Social Security number is right there on it. And I'm assuming they didn't incarcerate the wrong Social Security number.
Right.
But they won't accept that, and so now you've been incarcerated for 15, 20 years. Your mom may be gone. Your family is scattered. They may not even receive you, but it's not very likely we're going to find your birth certificate very easily. So now you got to prove who you are to prove that you were born.
Yes.
It's a
yes,
real
yes,
catch-22, but you need that ID to go get a job.
So, Reverend Calloway, how do you convince, if you do at all, a person who has had these multiple avenues of rejection that they are perfect?
It takes time. I mean, there is a lot of that patience of Job because psychologically they've been put down for so long. When you're trying to pull them back up, sometimes they just hold on to what they know. And that might not be something that's going to be the best for them, especially when it comes to socializing or, moving into an echelon of people that might have a job for you. And your speech is not eloquent, even your physical, the way you sit, the way you stand, your posture, all of those things have to be worked on. So my first thing is to make sure, are you hungry? Do you need clothing? And Jesus said to feed the hungry, clothe the naked, set the captives free. I feed them, I clothe them. Anytime they come to the door, they're welcome to come in. Come on in. You want some coffee? You tired? Come in where it's warm. Have a seat. Sit here for a while. Setting that captive free is the hardest part because prisons are not just bars and walls. There are a lot of prisons in the mind.
Right.
There's a lot of stuff that has been built up just for survival, ways that people protect themselves from the hurt that has to be just sort of taken down a brick at a time. So it's a process, and it's a process of love, of acceptance, of resources. And that's the thing. We call ourselves Life Restored Resource Center. And one of our slogans is get your life back on track, long-range planning for a lasting impact. It's not a quick fix.
Right.
So we plan a little bit at a time so we don't overwhelm a
You don't want to
person.
force feed them because people
No, you can't do that
You
at
want
all.
them to spit it up like, you feed the babies, right? You have to feed them a little bit at a time. Not to make metaphors as if they're babies, but whenever you give people something valuable, you have to allow your stomach to digest it, also the mind to digest it. Remind you that this is the Shy Peace Show. 312-738-1060. We're live. Call us with your questions or comments. Get them in because we're about to wrap up here pretty soon. Time flies when you're having fun, right? So we have our guest here, Reverend Calloway from TRED. I'm still learning how to
Yes,
pronounce it.
TRED.
From TRED. And it's amazing because tomorrow morning we leave at, Adolfo is at back. When you call, Adolfo Peter is the engineer today, and he is taking the phones. Hey, Adolfo. So he'll be leaving, and he said he'll be on time at 4:30 a.m. tomorrow from North Park University. We're heading down to Millikan University in Decatur. And we are introducing the world to better news research. Because we have...
Instead of fake news, right?
Well, yeah, the fake news, instead of fake news for sure, but instead of the bad news research. There's a lot of research about how people do violence in Chicago.
Yeah.
There's very little research about how Chicagoans do peace. We hear a lot about black on black violence. We hear very little about black on black peace. We hear a lot about racial hatred and racial intolerance and racial bigotry. We do very little and know very little about racial harmony.
Right.
Right? We know a lot about police brutality, but we don't know much about police good conduct. We know about police bad conduct. So part of what Adolfo is one of those in a research methods class with me, and I'm teaching students how to do what we call good news research. Thanks to Pastor Judy at North Park University, #Better News has been creating a theme that the Lord came with better news.
Yes.
There's better news that a Savior was born.
Yes.
Right?
The gospel.
And if we, there's a simple law of physics that energy follows attention. And we believe if we populate the world with knowing more about human successes rather than about human failures, when people find themselves in tight situations and trying to figure out what to do, they will at least have some sort of vibes that tell them and remind them about positive outcomes,
Yes.
about how they can prevail, right? How they can succeed rather than how they fail. Because a lot of it, when you listen to the stories of a lot of those men and women who may commit homicides or robbery or get into some grievous bodily harm, a lot of times, up to the minute that the time they did it, they were changing their minds. It's very seldom like they just have their mind and that's all they want to do.
And maybe if we had more positive things in there to offset the negatives, that's part of what we try to do at TRED. If we keep giving them positive feedback, giving them positive thoughts about themselves. That's a way that we bring more peace to our community. If they can walk out with a smile and a donut
Yes.
or something that they've spent an hour or so, we have a GROW group that is a mental health support group. It's not intrusive. They study different stories and talk about different people's problems so that it doesn't become too personal, but still they can give their feedback in that. We have a group called the Crew, because I truly know that people need money. And while you're trying to get to a position, a permanent position of some sort, you still have to eat. You
Yeah.
still have to
you
meet
have to
those
feed, you have
needs.
to
So
feed,
we
yeah.
give hygiene kits, but we also have people who call and say, Rev, do you have somebody there that can just pull up a carpet for me? Or our truck is here and we don't have enough people to take the food off the truck. Well, I have a group of men and women, and I'll call and say, okay, go to such and such address and work for a couple of hours. They're going to give you a couple of bucks. It'll at least keep the cell phone on.
Right.
Something like that. So that, along with what I call Jumpstart, when people come out of prison, oftentimes they are placed in a rehab home or center with nothing. And so they can come to Tread. I give them clothing. I'll give them a bag of groceries. Everybody else has their little stash of groceries there, and they have nothing to eat. If they come back during the day, I'm like the neighborhood grandma, I guess. I try to keep something, baked
Wow.
chicken, something in the
Something.
refrigerator. You come in, baby, you hungry? Okay, hold on, I'll make you a bagel. I'll give you some coffee. Something that bolsters the humanity in them, that lets them know you are special.
Giving them some sort of positive experience.
Yes.
Letting them be towers of peace, cell towers of peace. I use the metaphor
Yes.
that I call it somewhat of a social Wi-Fi. You know, if you have Wi-Fi on your phone, you may have bad signals or weak signals.
Right.
Or even if you're driving and across country and you're away from the city, you may not get R&B hip-hop music until you get closer. But if you have more cell towers, you'll get more phone coverage. Or if you have more towers for coverage on radio, you'll get more of those. So in the same way, if each of us see ourselves as a tower of peace,
Right.
tower of peace, when people go about and they have negative interactions, if they have peaceful interactions with more of us, we will create at a mass more of an opportunity for people to act more peacefully at the end.
Exactly.
Because and that's exactly what you're talking about.
Yes,
with your
and then,
metaphor.
a large part of what we must do as a resource center is network. So we're part of the Southeast Jobs Collaborative, which is more than 40 agencies that handle all kinds of things, and we make sure that we have people there who are experts with reentry. And so when we do hiring events, we make sure that there are people there who will accept people with backgrounds. In other words, they have background-friendly
Right.
approaches.
Right.
And then, all the different resources that a person might need, even if it's family counseling. We partner with Metropolitan Family Services. We have many churches, because of course I'm part of the 34th Ward Ministers Alliance, so we can go to the different churches for food, all sorts of things. So the goal is to offer peace in order to get peace, take away some of the stress, take away the negativity,
And the
take
physical,
away the low self-esteem,
Yes,
build them to a point where I really believe that much of the violence is because we do not have our men in positions of role model.
Let me ask you this. I know we're wrapping down. We have about 5 more minutes to go. Believe it, our time is really... if I
Yeah.
could sing, I would sing Time Flies When You Have It. Can you sing?
I do sing.
Ah, but you're
But I
not going to
won't do
sing
it
that
here.
song. She's not going to do it here. She'll sing us
Nah, do it
next
in
time, right? So we have 5 more minutes. Let me ask you this question. Why do you believe that there isn't even more violence in Chicago?
Because I don't think people want violence. That is not the way, that is not natural to us. Yes, we are fallen man, but it doesn't mean we want to go out and kill everybody. I believe the level of stress is such that people are doing things out of impulse. People are doing things out of frustration, out of lack, out of a feeling of hopelessness. That's why we say we are help for the homeless and hope for the helpless. Many people that come to us feel that they've exhausted everything. And a lot of the problem for us is transportation. We say that they need to work. Well, there are lots of jobs, But how do you get to it if it's way out in the suburb and you have no way
So what
of
do you,
getting there?
what do you think TREAD is doing that can help shine light to the question of why there isn't even more violence in Chicago?
What are we doing? If you come out and see our folks, see our guys, see our women, you're going to see happy people that still aren't millionaires, billionaires, or even hundredaires. They're people who are finding peace by having their needs met, their basic needs met. I praise God. I'm not paid. We operate strictly on volunteers. This is my
how many of
ministry.
you, how big is your staff?
What staff?
How big is
I
your
said
operation?
volunteers.
Well, okay, well, let's call them
normally,
volunteer staff. How many people?
We usually have at least 5, 6 people around there at any time.
How big is the space that you work in?
Oh, we're not in a big space at all. We are
1,500 square feet or
powerful.
bigger?
Now, I don't know square feet and all that stuff, but we're in a small space.
Well, like a storefront, like a
Yeah,
storefront?
it is a storefront.
Okay, okay.
And, you know, the guys come and they're like, oh, Rev, let me take all the garbage out. So they'll empty all the garbage. Another one will say, well, let me mop the floors. Okay, Rev, well, you need to do this. Or I'm going to clean the chandelier. I'm going to do this. They want to hang. It's like, this is home. And this is where things are peaceful for them. So they hang around there. And then I'll say, listen, guys, we're going to go to so-and-so tomorrow. You want to go? Meet me at 8:30.
So do you have space for some university students to come and help volunteer, help you out with what you do?
Always. I'll make
Hey,
space.
North Park University students, I hope you're listening. Adolfo, I hope you're listening in the back over there. I guess you'll be riding tomorrow in that limo bus and you're going to tell us about it, right, Adolfo? How you're going to volunteer at TREAD, how you're going to make some things happen. And we have a building at 11451 South Michigan Avenue. I need to take you on a walk through our building. And we are relative neighbors, so we can find a way of how what we do can collaborate with what you do.
We have a huge coat giveaway on the 28th of November. We need help.
20th of
We're
November.
always doing projects.
That is a Tuesday, right?
That's
a
Giving Tuesday.
That's Giving Tuesday. Well, we are winding down. But if you want to learn more about TREAD, you can go to tread.org or .com and learn more. And the address is
It's
11
TREAD Chicago.
TREAD
Chicago.
treadchicago.org. We have come to the end.